Did you know that Max Verstappen is about to shock everyone with a debut no one expected? What seemed like a simple hobby has now become a calculated plan that could change his future in motorsports. Before continuing, let me know your opinion in the comments. Do you think Verstappen will end up racing outside of Formula One? What's happening behind the scenes at the Nürburgring that could mark a turning point in his career? Stay until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. In this video, we'll break down all the details of Max Verstappen's historic GT3 debut this Saturday at the legendary Nürburgring Nordschleife. I'll tell you how he prepared, what secrets came to light, and what this move really means for his career. Max Verstappen is not only a leading figure in Formula One today, but also a driver who has begun to forge a parallel path in endurance motorsports. His decision to make his GT3 debut this Saturday with the Emile Frey racing Ferrari 296 didn't come out of nowhere, but rather reflects a carefully designed strategy. The chosen location couldn't be more symbolic. The Nürburgring Nordschleife, the Green Hell, considered by drivers and engineers to be the most demanding and challenging circuit on the planet. This combination of a legendary setting, a state-of-the-art car, and an F1 champion at the wheel makes this debut an event that transcends the sporting realm and becomes a historic one. The most striking aspect of this context is that Verstappen has decided to share the wheel with Chris Lullum, a young British talent trained within the Team Redline ecosystem, with whom he maintains a very close professional relationship in sim racing. This choice is no coincidence. It reflects the importance Max places on trust and communication in the car, and also his intention to bring his virtual universe to the real world of motorsport. This isn't a solitary or improvised debut, but rather a partnership built on prior experience and a mutual understanding that can make the difference against much more experienced rivals in endurance racing. Furthermore, it's worth highlighting the symbolism of a four-time F1 world champion choosing to compete on equal terms with the other GT3 drivers. Verstappen didn't seek exceptions, claim privileges, or use his status to circumvent rules. On the contrary, he complied with the same licensing requirements as any rookie driver, even when authorities suggested he might be treated as a special case. This decision not only speaks to his discipline and respect for the series, but also sets the tone for how he will approach this challenge, with humility, but also with relentless ambition. One of the most fascinating aspects surrounding Max Verstappen's GT3 debut is the veil of rumors and leaks that have surrounded his preparation. What seemed like a simple, fleeting interest in endurance racing ended up uncovering a story steeped in mystery. It all began when a driver named Franz Hermann appeared registered for an official test session at the Nürburgring in May. For many, it was an irrelevant detail, but as the days passed, suspicions grew, and it was confirmed that the name was actually a pseudonym used by Verstappen to keep his first experience with the Ferrari 296 GT3 a secret. This maneuver sparked all kinds of theories about the extent to which the champion was willing to hide his preparation before making the public leap into endurance racing. The most explosive moment came when the times he set during that covert session became known. Various sources indicated that Verstappen unofficially ran around 7:47 or 7:48 per lap, breaking the unofficial GT3 class record on the Nordschleife. Rival drivers, such as Maro Engel, immediately suggested that the car he used could have been configured with different specifications, closer to a DTM than a standard balance of performance GT3. These accusations only fuel the controversy and increased expectations about what Verstappen is truly capable of achieving in an official competition under fully regulated parameters. Verstappen himself responded to these comments to categorically deny any irregularities in his test. According to him, participating in an NLS session with a non-regulation car would be pointless, and his goal was to acclimatize himself to the demands of the Ferrari on that track. His response not only sought to clear any suspicions, but also sent a clear message. He's willing to face the challenge on equal terms, demonstrating that his talent can be transferred to any discipline without the need for external advantages. Such statements further reinforce the narrative that his participation at the Nürburgring is not a whim, but a serious commitment intended to earn respect in a field entirely new to him. Red Bull's reaction to Verstappen's interest in competing in categories outside of Formula One has been a delicate subject. On the one hand, the Austrian team recognizes that it has a unique driver in its hands, capable of defining an era in F1. On the other hand, they know that allowing him to open up to other challenges entails both sporting and contractual risks. So far, Red Bull has preferred to remain flexible, understanding that the Dutchman isn't looking to distract himself from his role in the top category, but rather to broaden his horizons as a competitor. This approach has allowed them to maintain a balance, supporting their star without giving the impression that he's losing focus on the world's most important championship. For Verstappen, on the other hand, his position is very clear, and he has reiterated it in several statements. He doesn't see endurance racing as a threat to his performance in Formula One, but rather as an opportunity for personal and sporting growth. "It's my passion to race in other categories as well," he stated, making it clear that his motivation isn't tied to money or marketing, but rather a genuine need to challenge himself in different contexts. Formula One will continue to be his priority, but he doesn't want to limit himself to it. In fact, his plans to debut at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring in 2026 have already been adjusted to avoid clashing with the official F1 calendar, demonstrating a level of meticulous planning and absolute commitment to both disciplines. Within the paddock, some observers believe that such moves may be an indirect message to Red Bull. Verstappen knows his value as a driver is invaluable, and by exploring other horizons, he reinforces the idea that he doesn't depend exclusively on F1 to remain relevant. This creates some internal pressure on Red Bull, which is obliged to ensure he has a competitive car every season to keep him motivated. Otherwise, the door to alternatives outside the big circus would be more open than ever. In other words, Verstappen is giving himself additional bargaining power over the team that has brought him to the top. What's interesting is that Red Bull also understands the media and commercial appeal of these forays. Having their champion racing a Ferrari GT3 in the VERSTAPPEN.com racing colors and with branding that also incorporates Red Bull elements is, in a way, an extension of the brand to another audience. In this way, they manage to maintain the team's presence even outside of F1, capitalizing on the image of their star. Thus, while Verstappen fulfills his dream of competing at the Nürburgring, Red Bull is taking advantage of the global exposure that such an event can generate. Looking ahead to the coming months, everything indicates that Verstappen's GT3 debut is just the beginning of a much more ambitious path. This is not a one-off event, but a carefully planned project whose main goal is to reach the 24 Hours of Nürburgring in 2026. The fact that Max has already adjusted his Formula One schedule to avoid any clashes with that date demonstrates his total commitment to this new venture. This forecast also sends a message to the paddock. Verstappen doesn't improvise, but rather prepares every step of his career years in advance, making this move a serious project and not just a passing diversion. In sporting terms, what is expected in the near future is a process of progressive adaptation. Verstappen will have to consolidate his experience in long races, learning to manage aspects such as constant traffic, tire wear during extended stints, and fuel management, factors that are completely different in F1. This process will be closely watched because it will determine whether he is truly ready to face the 24 hours in 2026 with a guarantee of success. What is interesting is that his preparation is not only based on physical training or simulators, but also on direct learning alongside teammates like Chris Lullum, who brings recent experience in endurance racing and can serve as a guide in this new field. In conclusion, what we are witnessing with Max Verstappen's debut in GT3 is not a simple experiment or a passing whim, but the beginning of a project that could change the recent history of motorsport. What seemed like a rumor fueled by a pseudonym on a registration sheet has transformed into a resounding reality that today has the entire paddock on alert. Max Verstappen isn't trying his luck. He's building a second career with a long-term vision, and the impact of this step can be felt both in Formula One and in endurance motorsport. What's truly shocking is that, with each decision, he reinforces the idea that he's not content with being an F1 legend. He wants to be remembered as a complete competitor, someone capable of dominating on any terrain. And now the big question is in your hands. Do you think Verstappen should remain focused exclusively on Formula One, or is this the perfect time for him to open a new chapter in his endurance career? Your opinion is key to understanding how fans view this movement, which is already making headlines around the world. Leave it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.